again, everyone. This is Dr. T, and today I'm excited to be sharing with you on this topic of how to take your drugs correctly. So, how should you take your drugs, right? So, you go to the hospital and you see your doctor, and they write you some drugs to take, which most of the times you cannot read. So you go to the pharmacist. So you go to the pharmacy and you meet the pharmacist or the pharmaceutical technologist, and they get you your drugs and they say, okay, you gotta take this 1 times 2. What does it mean to take 1 times 2? Or they say, maybe you take 2 times 3. What is 2 times 3? Or 4 times 1. Then you're like, am I gonna take all these four at the same time? No way. So join me as I unfold that for you right about now. Okay, so when you go to the pharmacy and the pharmacist says, okay, you gotta take this 1 times 2. We're gonna start with 1 times 1, right? The simplest from the simplest to the highest. So, right, we're gonna start with 1 times 1. So, what does it mean to take your drugs 1 times 1, right? So, 1 times 1 is a common way of expressing how to take drugs. So 1 times 1 would mean you take one tablet. Most likely it's a tablet for 1 times 1. So that would mean you take one tablet every day, right? Let's say they've said you take this one tablet every day for 5 days. I don't know. So, what does it mean? So, that would mean you take one tablet every day. But what time do you take this tablet? Are you going to take it today? You're going to take it at 9 a.m. Tomorrow, you're like, oh, I'm going to take it at 9 p.m. And the next day, you're like, oh, I'm going to take it at lunchtime. So, what is the correct way to do it, right? So, what you do or what should be done when you get your drugs, depending on what time you get your drugs and what time you start to take your drugs. So let's say you got your drugs 10 a.m. in the morning and you get home and you want to take your dose. Let's say you get home at 11 a.m., right? So technically you start taking your one tablet at 11 a.m., right? So you take your tablet at 11 a.m. What time should you take it the next day? So you should definitely take it at the same time, 11 a.m. the next day and the day after and after 5 days. That's how it should be. And so many people misunderstand this, and it's just not usually explained a lot by, pharmacists or pharmaceutics because of time, and so many people or patients are in a hurry, but it should. So, like 1 times 1, if it's 11 a.m. every day, 11 a.m. If you start at 2 p.m., it's gonna be every day at 2 p.m., right? If you start at 4 p.m., every day at 4 p.m. I think we're getting there now. So, basically, in simple terms, 1 times 1 would mean every 24 hours from the time you started taking your medicine. So, time is very important when it comes to taking drugs, okay? It's very important because, this instruction is quite derived from how the drug acts in the body and the processes it takes, or depending on how it was manufactured to release the drugs into your body. So, yes, that is how you should take it. So, for most drugs that you take once a day, it would mean that they've been manufactured in such a way that they can be able to release the medicament very slowly throughout the day. So it's enough to sustain you for 24 hours. Yeah. So next is gonna be 1 times 2. Like, we're really gonna go very slowly so that everyone gets a proper understanding of this. So what about 1 times 2? What do you think? What should 1 times 2 be, right? So 1 times 2 would be you take one tablet in the morning, another one in the evening. So usually the second number, like 1 times 2, so like the second number usually indicates the number of times you should take it in a day, right? So just to make this simple, to make it simple, it's just got into my head. Like to make it simple, you just take 24 hours, you divide it by the number, the second number, 2. You divide it by 2, then you get 12 hours, right? Well done. So you get 12 hours. So that means you take one tablet every 12 hours, right? So the first number, 1, you would say 1 times 2, right? So the first number would indicate, of course, the number of tablets you should take. So I think we gotta write notes here, okay? So 1 times 2, 1 would indicate the number of tablets, correct? And 2 would indicate the number of times you should take it in a day. So twice a day. So basically you divide 24 hours divide by the second number, which is number 2, and you get 12 hours. So we can give an example to make this simple for everyone else, right? So let's say you got a drug and the pharmacist wrote 1 times 2, right? So what would it mean? So we can give a little example. For example, you go to the pharmacy at around 3 p.m. 3 p.m., right? So you get your drugs at 3 p.m., you get home at 4 a.m., right? So you would want to, let's say, no, sorry, 3 p.m., you get home at 4 p.m. Sorry about that. So 4 p.m., you get home and you take your drugs, right? So you're gonna count 12 hours from 4 p.m., right? So 12 hours from 4 p.m., you take your second dose. Then 12 hours from taking your second dose, you take your. Wait, yeah. So 12 hours, you count 12 hours from the first dose, you take it, then you count another 12 hours. So yeah, it's a 12-hour difference. Very simple, not hard at all. Then the next one would be, let's say 1 times 3. So we're gonna be dealing with the ones now. 1 times 3, 1 times 4, 1 times. I haven't seen 1 times 5 yet. But there is definitely 1 times 4. So 1 times 3, as you said, the first digit would mean, correct, the number of tablets that you should take. And times 3, the second digit would be the number of times in a day you should take it, right? And remember we said if you're taking it 3 times a day, you divide 24 hours divided by 3. What do you get? 8, correct. So this is gonna be 1 times 3 is gonna be 1 tablet every 8 hours. So you gotta have your clock with you. You gotta have your alarm clocks with you, right? So timing every 8 hours, you take your 1 tablet. Every 8 hours, you take the other tablet until the 5 days are over. So yes, that is a basic introduction for this. And I think I'm gonna cover, before I finish, I think I'm gonna cover 1 times 4. So I think you, my audience, now are very bright and know this. So 1 times 4 would be very simple. 1 tablet, you take 4. 24 hours divided by 4 is 6. So you take 1 tablet every 6 hours. Every 6 hours. See? Not so hard. Easy peasy. So I don't want any of you multiplying by 4 or like taking 4 times 1. So 1 times 4, you take 24 hours divided by 4, which is 6. And so you take 1 tablet every 6 hours. Timing is important when it comes to taking drugs. Remember that. This is Dr. T again, teaching you how to take your drugs. And I'm gonna catch you later, and feel free to inbox me for any issues or any topics you'd want me to cover. Talk to you later and see you soon. Ciao.